not taking a decision is wrong. You've got to take a decision at some point when you've got as many facts as you can. But you cannot wait for 100%. It just doesn't work that way.
Welcome to the Bailiwick Express podcast. My name is Matthew Leach. I'll be joined each week by a guest for a series of podcasts. Each will shine a light on topics from across the bailiwick. The format will change week to week. We'll have debates, reviews, hot seat interviews and special guests. So stick with us as we offer some insight on some of the most important issues we in the bailiwick face. What makes a good leader and, more importantly, a good director? This is the question Roy McGregor will be asking himself alongside the other judges for this year's Institute of Directors Director of the Year Awards. Mr McGregor was the country head for all Credit Suisse operations up until 2016 and now focuses on consultancy work. He'll be judging the applications, with the winner being revealed at the October IOD convention. He took time out to catch up with us over the phone to discuss the awards, how leadership has changed in the face of a pandemic, and what makes a director a good director. What are the Director of the Year Awards, and what do they mean to the people who get involved?
It's a recognition of good practice and solid leadership within the director community, in this case on Guernsey. It's been run for many years in the UK on a regional basis, and we decided a couple of years ago that we would take part. Last year wasn't, for obvious reasons, the best year to launch it, so we delayed it until this year and launched it in, I think, May, and closure is in the next couple of weeks. And then we will announce the winner at the IOD convention in October.
Okay, and of course you mentioned last year, of course it has been an unusual couple of years. Surely the role of a director has changed a lot post-COVID, during COVID. I mean, what does it mean to be a leader and a director now?
I'm not sure, to be honest, that things have changed. Just the stresses and strains have obviously been that much more acute, in that some businesses, particularly in the hospitality sector, have had to basically close up shop, and therefore the directors will have had to deal with some pretty horrendous problems. Others, I think all will have had to deal with pretty horrendous problems because the level of uncertainty across the community, forget the just business, has been really quite dramatic. So it has probably been, I hate to say it's an opportunity, but for people with strong leadership skills to demonstrate why they are in that role.
I was going to ask then, of course, the way these directors have dealt with these issues and troubles that they've gone through, will this tie in with how a Director of the Year gets chosen?
I think there will be, we're always looking for good examples of leadership and good examples of displaying the right qualities. I think COVID and the economic problems we've had in the last year will probably give an opportunity for people to demonstrate that in spades. I'm not saying that if someone's had a really tough year in the hospitality sector, I'm pretty sure that maybe the last thing on their mind is to enter an award such as this. But there have been a number of businesses that have really taken the lead and shown their staff how to deal with these things.
And if we talk about leaders in general then, what makes a director a good director?
I think honesty. I think demonstrating leadership. You can't always tell, you don't always have the answer to the question, but you've got to be able to take action quickly, particularly in the last 18 months. You've been under pressure. And I think it's about being honest with those who are looking up to you. I can think of some organizations where, there may have been people in place for 20, 30 years in that job, not as director, but looking up to their MD or director in a particular area, and just worried about whether they've got a job in the next year. If they don't, because of whatever reason, then it's up to the leadership to be able to convey the problems and what the options are in an open and transparent manner. I really don't think that just burying the problems under the carpet, as it were, is ever the right thing to do. So it's flexibility. It's as I say, it's taking decisions and communicating those decisions. You can't be right all the time, but you've got to be right more often than not.
Do you think this has been reflected in the world that we've been going through recently? I mean, leaders across the world have had to be more prominent, I suppose, from presidents to prime ministers because of the troubles we've been facing.
Oh, agree. I mean, some, I think, I'm not saying not wanting to name names, but I think some of the communication, particularly at the government level, in some countries has been atrocious. Whether it's a leader saying that a drug doesn't work, or whether it's flip-flopping on rules, or just making rules too convoluted to understand. I think that's it just does not build confidence. It's not about being so rigid that you cannot change, but it's explaining when there's a need to change. The island, I think, has done it very well. At times, particularly in summer last year, when the sister island was opening up, there were a lot of people saying, well, we should be doing the same. But in the long run, they stuck to the guns, and I think it was the right decision.
So leaders and directors themselves, they seem to be a certain type of person, I guess. I mean, what kind of draws somebody to take on a leadership role?
I'm not saying you want it, far from it. I think when I went through this course for 20 years ago, I think, I remember the guy saying that we've all got to that bit, everybody in the room had got to that, into that room based more or less on technical merit, and getting to supervisor or manager level or whatever it was, based on that level of skill. The next step up to director or to a bigger organization tends to be being in the right place at the right time, doing the right thing and taking the right decisions. And some people are great technicians, but not necessarily great at leading organizations. And others are, happy to stay in a technical role and solving problems. But you need a director, a leader to draw the various strands together and to come up with an answer. As I say, not taking a decision is wrong. You've got to take a decision at some point when you've got as many facts as you can. But you cannot wait for 100%. It just doesn't work that way.
And so, as your role of a judge, you'll be overlooking some of the directors put forward for this award. Do you find it hard to judge a competition like this? I mean, taking into account that leaders can come from a multitude of different industries. I guess they all face different things.
Well, they come from a multitude of different industries. They can apply from public service or the third sector. They can apply from small businesses and large businesses. And obviously in the UK, a large business is very different to one that may be on the island. There are young Director of the Year and Startup Director of the Year. I think what we will be looking for is certain success in overcoming problems, in changing a business, or in demonstrating that they've led the business through a difficult period. And I can't sort of say what those examples are, perhaps without going into some of the applicants, which would be unfair. But there are a variety of different examples that have been demonstrated, some in the third sector, some in business, where businesses have thrived or the activity has thrived when one would have thought that it might have been safer to sit back and wait for things to clear. But they've taken big decisions and they've worked out.
And so you'll be judging a whole host of people, I suppose. I mean, the award itself and the event itself, I mean, how long has it existed for, and why is it important to celebrate these directors in this way?
It's important to take the second point. It's important to celebrate because I think leadership is important and good governance of any organization is important. In demonstrating leadership, you don't necessarily want an autocrat. You want someone who draws opinions together and is willing to listen to differing opinions. And the IAD, as an organization, values those differences of opinion and all the things that go towards good leadership. Having the confidence to stand up and as I say, communicate a decision that may be difficult, influencing, persuading people, And on governance and making sure that you've got the up-to-date and adhere to the best codes of practice.
There's awards for young directors and stuff like that. People who are coming up through the ranks or taking on leadership roles. Are there new things they need to be aware of to take advantage of or be aware of in a world post-COVID? People working from home, people working more using technology and stuff like this.
Well, I think let's be honest, most of us have lived in a world that has not said no to us in the last 30, 40 years. Now, whether you're in a personal position or in a corporate position, as you say, people working from home is a great example. There are, we're moving back to an office environment, I think we will see great changes in that people will require more flexibility, either because they're still not sure. There'll be a lot of people uncertain about the future and some people scared about the future. There will be others who will be actively trying to get back into the office because that's their social environment and forms a big part of their life. So the trick will now be trying to make sure that flexible working, which was coming through, but was perhaps not always as popular within big corporates as perhaps it should be. I think those, particularly now, will be valued and will be much more demand on getting a reasonable solution for those sort of questions.
I mean, we've done a lot of work recently on flexible working. It does seem to be something that's kind of forced the hand of a lot of businesses. This seems to be the future of work in many cases. Yeah.
Well, I work in financial services, or I have, and still dabble in it with a number of companies. And, we would always have these business recovery plans where, can the business survive if the office is suddenly closed? And most of Guernsey's businesses had that imposed on them very short notice and worked well. I was surprised and pleasantly surprised to see how each of these businesses adapted to it. In other parts of the world, I know, I was in London earlier this week and I got a train at 9 o'clock into town and it was empty. So there's still people either saying, well, I'll go in at 6 and I'll work until 2 or whatever. They'll adjust their days accordingly. But it's going to be, I think, for a while to be a different world. I think there will be a degree of coming back to what is a norm because it's just something we're all used to. But that may be over the next year or two.
And a point that was made in a conversation I had earlier was that this is, and coming back to what you said, it's based on trust. And it's not only, I suppose, trust in your employee, but it's trust in your employer to keep involved and in touch with you. Yeah.
You are, appointed by shareholders or whoever into that role, maybe a company with a headquarters elsewhere. But ultimately, you'll succeed in sales based on the resources you've got, and those are the people, 9 times out of 10, on the island. And if you don't bring the people along, if they don't trust you for whatever reason, it's not a question of like or dislike, but if they believe that you're actually doing maybe a difficult job, but honestly and transparently as far as you can, then I think that counts for a lot.
Absolutely. I mean, if we pull it back round then to finish off with when are the awards coming up? If people want to put people forward, is there a cut-off point, and how do they put people forward?
Yeah, we're into the final furlong, so we're looking at trying to close by middle of August. The website is still open. We will then have a period between then and probably mid-September for the judges to get together and to discuss which of the candidates should be selected, and then we'll announce it at the IOD convention in October.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it.
You're very welcome. Good to talk to you.
Thank you for listening to the Bailiwick Express podcast. The title track was Shift My Weight by Luno. If you enjoyed it, I know it's a pain, but please like and share. It all helps, and remember, you can hit bailiwickexpress.com to stay right up to date with whatever is happening in the Bailiwick. You can find us online, on social, on email, and on internet radio. There'll be more from me, Matthew Leach, and all the Bailiwick Express team next Friday.